What is the one psychological issue that tends to keep couples from getting along? That's what we're going to look at in this video. Hello, this is Dr. Todd, and I've been thinking recently about social psychology. It's one of the classes I'm teaching this semester, and social psychology is the study of how social influences affect a person's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And one of the concepts that is very intriguing to me is the idea of how we attribute behaviors to other people. There's a tendency to commit what is called fundamental attribution error. Now, what is that? Well, it's defined this way. It's the tendency to overestimate the extent to which people's behavior is due to internal dispositional factors and to underestimate the role of situational factors. There's usually a two-step process in how this occurs. Someone does something, and you will automatically make an appraisal and attribute the cost to something, almost instinctively. And then, upon further reflection, you may adjust that if you actually get to that point. But I'll give you an example. If you run into a homeless person, your first thing is to think to yourself, generally, this person has got a mental illness or has an addiction of some sort or is lazy. This is why they're the way they are. This is why they're in the situation they're in. That's the automatic go-to move many people will have. They will tend to blame the negative experience they're having with that person. They'll blame that on an internal characteristic or disposition or character trait of the person. However, if you know the homeless person, you run into them, your first question is typically, I wonder what led to this. Did he lose his job? Is there something like that that's occurred? Are they bankrupt because of medical bills? Those kind of things. So what we kind of learn about fundamental attribution error is that we will tend to, if there's a negative behavior with someone that we know or that we're interacting with, if it's a negative behavior that they do, we will attribute it to an internal characteristic or dispositional trait they have. He's just lazy, that kind of thing. He's just got a temper. If we do the exact same behavior, though, what we'll tend to do is blame our circumstances. Well, you'd be angry too if so-and-so did this to you, that kind of thing. So, of course, the Bible's very clear. We're very self-centered. We're self-deceived. We're sinners. We struggle with this, and we're blissfully unaware of it, frankly. However, it's a little more complicated than that in the sense that you may be saying, yeah, but what if the person really is, being a jerk or whatever in the situation that I just mentioned? Well, we actually go through in our heads real quickly things like we look for consensus information. Has that person been that way? Does everybody agree that person has got an anger problem or is being angry? Something like that. We look for distinctiveness information. Does this person behave this way in different contexts? Are they angry at school? Are they angry at church? Are they angry on the job? Those kind of things. And then we also look for consistency information. Does that person act this way only with me, or is it with other people as well? And has it been for a long time? Is there a pattern developing here? Those are the kind of things that we look at with fundamental attribution error when we make these attributions. They're not always accurate, by the way. Well, if that's the case, if we will tend to blame another person for internal issue, like for behaviors based on internal characteristics, but not ourselves, what do you think that does to a marital relationship? It makes it very difficult. What we see in research is that spouses that tend to get along pretty well will actually look for external factors before they blame the character of their partner. especially like even during negative interactions, they'll first look to the external, then the internal. Now, couples in distress will do the exact opposite. The distressed couple, one of the spouses will look internally first at their partner for the negative behaviors. And so how then, if that's our tendency, and you can see where that can really lead into a lot of trouble, because a lot of times it has nothing to do with reality. It's just the way we see things. Although sometimes it's correct, but often, sometimes it's not, especially when we get in a tense relationship with someone we really care about. So how do we then go about fixing that tendency if that's a tendency we're prone to? Well, we do that through having a disciplined prayer life. We need to have a prayer life that consistently brings our concerns in front of the Lord. Because remember how I said earlier, what we'll do is it's a two-step attribution process. We have this automatic thought that comes, and then upon further reflection, we'll adjust it to take into account situational factors. Having a consistent prayer time where we're praying about that person or praying for that person forces us to slow things down, set the situation before God in linguistic form, because we're praying verbally, even if it's silently or even if it's writing it out. We're having to verbalize this to where we can make better sense of all the factors, not just internal traits, but also external situational influences there. And so we would first then bring that concern to God and pray for our spouse in that situation. We would also then ask God, and this is the important thing. Obviously, now let me say this first. If we see something that truly is going on with our spouse, we need to ask God for the grace to either bear up under the situation or engage our spouse and see if we can help our spouse with the problem. If we've gone through that, or after we've gone through that process, then this is the tough part. We've got to ask the Lord to search our own hearts. I think about Psalm 139, 23 and 24. And we need to ask Him to help us see what we can't see about how we're looking at this situation and how we're looking at our spouse in the midst of this situation. The idea here is to kind of get along with God and reflect on everything. Ask God to help you think through things. Slow it down. Do the second step of the attribution process. And we do that through a consistent prayer time with the Lord. So you see, prayer is very practical, and it's very helpful in helping you minister to your spouse, but also learn how you may be contributing to the situation even. If you will pursue a disciplined prayer life, you will not only ensure that God will improve your marriage, He'll also improve your spouse, but probably most important, He'll improve you. Well, I hope this was helpful. If you like the work I'm doing, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you have anything you'd like me to talk about in future videos, don't forget to leave those in the comments. God bless, and we'll talk again soon.